morning. It is Wednesday, June 21st, 2017, and we're going to call to order the 9:30 meeting for the Ottawa City Commission. Could we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Kaler.
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore.
Present.
Commissioner Graves.
Present.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
Present.
We're all present and accounted for. We want to welcome everybody who's in the audience today. We will begin our meeting as we do with every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation, which will be led by Wendy Lee. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You bow. Father God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to be together. We ask your blessing upon the governing body this morning as they deliberate on actions and all through the week as they respond to citizens as well as staff. Thank you for the opportunity to come to you today, to ask blessings on each other, to know that we are enabled by your Spirit to do the things that we are tasked with each day. We ask your blessing on those who are hurting or alone or struggling in some other manner today, and that our patience be extended when we come into contact with someone who's having a difficult day. We also ask your blessing on all those who serve us in so many ways, whether that be through an employment or other leadership opportunity in the community, to make Ottawa, Franklin County, and Kansas better. And then we ask your blessing on all those who are traveling and unable to be here today, that they have mercies. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Mrs. Lee. Next, we move on to the consent agenda, which includes minutes from May 17, 2017 regular meeting and May 22, 2017 study session. Commissioners, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner,
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, there we go. We're approved. I don't think we've ever had an opposed consent agenda, but it could happen. You never know. You never know, Eric. You never know. Next on our regular agenda is public comment.
Would you have one registered?
Okay, so persons who would like to address the City Commission regarding items on the agenda may do so as that agenda item is called. Persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items not on the agenda but are under the jurisdiction of the City Commission may do so at the time when they are called upon by the mayor. Comments on personnel matters and matters pending in court or with other outside tribunals are not permitted. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and any presentation is for information purposes only, and no action will be taken. We have Ted Vogel, who is here for public comment this morning. Mr. Vogel, come on up.
Hello. Reason for my visit today is because I got some concerns over Kingman Road. And I don't know if any of you were here back when you took Kingman Road in the city of Ottawa. Back when you took it in the city of Ottawa, 2 months before you took it in, you wrote up a deal and gave it to me that you would maintain that road at the condition that it was in when you took it in, and then you didn't do that. Not only did you do that, I mean, you all voted on it, and the mayor signed it. So I think what you ought to do is step up and do something about it. There's a whole bunch of potholes right there by my service road, and some of them are pretty deep, and I'm afraid somebody's going to have a bad accident there unless somebody fixes them. And another issue I have, you ripped out the asphalt, and you didn't haul it off. What you did is left it there. Then you put AB3 over it about a year ago. And now that asphalt's coming up through that AB3, and then big chunks of asphalt are getting over in the ditch And yesterday, I hit one of them with my mower, and I'm not going to be able to mow that. You're going to have to go out there and mow it. I've taken care of the right-of-way for a long time, but it's going to be your problem now because you messed it up where I can't do it anymore. And so anyway, what I'm doing is asking you to do something about that. That's the only street that you have in the city of Ottawa that's got a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit on it, and you put AB3 on it. Well, you know what happens. We have a car lot there. What if Ford was there? You wouldn't have done that. But you did it because I'm there. And I thought you were going to fix it, but the way it looks like right now, I don't know when you're going to do something about it. But my problem is immediate, because if my car lot leaves because of this dust, it infiltrates my shop and infiltrates everything there. I have businesses on both sides of the street. And that stuff goes right through those buildings. Those are metal buildings. And in the cars and vehicles inside the buildings as well as the outside the buildings. It's just right now, it's just an absolute dust bowl. You can drive out there and you can take a look at it. And you can see what I'm talking about. It won't take you very long to figure out what's going on. But you know, this shouldn't have happened, but it did. So now it's time that somebody does something about it. So I don't know what you're...
Madam Mayor, can I speak?
Yes, I think Mr. Fogel's time is up.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay, my time's up, but
I was, Ted, I was on the city commission when we did take
so
that.
you remember voting on it?
Well, I remember voting on it. There's been I don't remember every aspect of the petition that we signed.
So you can
But,
read it.
but you do know that, that this road is going to be improved as part of the industrial park. And so within, is it the next 12 months,
Working on bonding.
it will be paved.
Well, what are you going to do in the meantime?
I think the city manager will have the public works director go out and inspect the road, and if it does need to have the potholes fixed, I believe we'll get them fixed right away.
Okay, what about the dust coming blowing off of it?
I think that,
They'll take a look at it.
We'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
Mr. Hafley, contact Mr. Fogel.
Well, I've asked him to, but he hasn't done that. So
we can,
this is why I'm here.
And I appreciate you bringing it to our attention,
Huh?
Ted.
yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we'll have Mr. Hafley contact you.
Yeah,
He's in
okay.
the audience today, and he'll contact you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else for public comment today? Okay, so we're going to move on to declaration. At this time, I'd like to give commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication that they might have had that would influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Commissioners? Seeing none, we will move forward.
Appointment of new city commissioner.
Linda Reed resigned from the Ottawa City Commission on May 3, 2017. Per Kansas statute and municipal code, commissioners appoint a replacement to fill the vacancy. Following a public application and interview process, Eric Crowley has been nominated to fulfill Mrs. Reed's unexpired term. Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to appoint Eric Crowley as the commissioner to fulfill Mrs. Reed's unexpired term.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Crowley. Come on up. We'd like to give you the oath for commissioner.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Eric Crowley,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commissioner
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commissioner
of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, so help me God.
of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, so help me God. Thank you.
Well, Commissioner Crowley, we'd love for you to sit down, and then nothing to, like, putting you on the spot right away, but we'd love to hear from you if you have comments that you'd like to share with us today.
Just something short and sweet. First of all, I'd like to start by saying thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, for this appointment. I'm eager to get started to see what I can help with, whether it be good or bad, I guess. That's the first thing. I'd like to say thank you to my immediate family for being here and enjoying this with me, and it's going to be a bumpy road, but we'll see what we can do. I love you guys. And I'd also like to say thank you to my Advantage Electric family for being here. You guys are off the clock, by the way. Yeah, you are.
And we're recording.
Thank you.
So there
Yes.
you go.
Yeah, so other than that, I'm just ready to get going.
Great, good. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Next, that moves us to item 13 on our agenda.
Introduction of new employee Adam Grimm, Stormwater Coordinator, GIS Technician.
This public, pardon me, I read ahead. Did you think I had a whole statement about you, Adam? Wouldn't that have been amazing? I had 3 pages of stuff I was going to say about Adam Grimm, but I want to hear from Mr. Hafley about what you have to tell us about Adam.
Well, good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. I'd like to introduce Adam Grimm. He comes to us from Decorah, Iowa. He holds a bachelor's degree from Luther College in Iowa in environmental studies. He had some stiff competition to get this position, but so far he's been with us, I think, 5 or 6 weeks now. So far he's been doing an outstanding job. So with that, I'll turn it over to Adam.
Thank you for the opportunity to serve the community. It's been great being here. Yeah, I'm still getting acquainted with things, but it's been going pretty good, so glad to be here.
Well, welcome. We're excited. This is actually the very first time that this position has been held in the city of Ottawa, and so we're excited to see what you do with that. Welcome. Next, that moves us to item 14 on the agenda.
Public hearing to consider the adoption of Community Improvement District.
The public hearing has been called to consider the adoption of the Community Improvement District in the Northwest I-35 and Princeton area. Mrs. Lee, are you going to briefly? Oh, I'm sorry, and I'm going to open that hearing.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. The city adopted a policy in 2013 that created the opportunity for folks to petition for Community Improvement District. And the applicants in this case submitted their petition to create the district to redevelop that site for a hotel, as well as the creation of a second pad site within that lot. The eligible costs in a CID include land acquisition, utility work, and that includes everything from stormwater to electric, water, sanitary, gas, as well as parking, sidewalks, buildings, facilities, landscaping, signage, promotion, art, professional services, etc., as allowed by the Kansas statutes. The estimated cost of the project is $9 million. We have in our policy that we prefer a pay-as-you-go, which is what this is. The applicant asked for the full amount within our policy, which is 1%. The state of Kansas actually allows 2%, but our policy indicates we prefer or really want to cap that at 1%. In addition to that, the city keeps 5% of the actual new increment of the sales tax for the administration. Within the Community Improvement District statutes, the length of time is also for up to 22 years. This is one owner, Mr. Taylor, and so it's 100% of the ownership that has applied. That's on behalf of the prospective developer. It's for Lot 43 of County Clerk Subdivision, and we provided an image and did do the public notice with the image as well. We're in development, we're in negotiation of a development agreement now. Our intent was just to hold the hearing today because we haven't completed that development agreement, which the development agreement is also a part of your policy. And that kind of sums it up. Tyler Ellsworth is here, he's our counsel. And we have a financial advisor as well who's looking at the entire project. For the community's benefit, typically, when we have a project, it involves several incentives, and this applicant or development has asked for a tax increment financing project, as well as a CID that we're considering today, as well as IRB. And so all of those things get capped up in a development agreement. And our intent is to conclude all of that at your meeting 1 month from now, when we would be able to answer all of the specifics. So this is basically an outline of what the statute provides for, and they've asked for to have those funds available in order to do this development. As you know, this is a redevelopment. There are existing buildings there that have to be removed. There's site work that has to be done, as well as utility and all normal other development costs, some of which would be provided for with the tax increment financing, but the CID is to capture what the tax increment financing would not pay for the developer. That makes this project different than doing one somewhere else. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can see if there's other public comments.
Commissioners, questions for Mrs. Lee?
Just a clarification on that. So it's a 1%, 1 cent sales tax addition to, correct?
Yes.
That's what this would be?
In addition to
What's already there?
Yes.
And then that would start on day one, I assume, of their operation? Is there, okay.
Yes, once they're collecting, yes.
Once they start. And then our share of that for servicing is 5% of the 1%?
Yes.
Right. Okay, make sure I get that right. Okay, thanks.
Any additional questions for Mrs. Lee? Okay. Is there anybody from the public who would like to address this matter? Again, anybody from the public that would like to discuss the CID for Northwest I-35 and Princeton area? Okay. Seeing none, we will close this hearing. And we will move on to item 15 on the agenda.
Request for approval of Elizabeth Layton Center 2017 funding agreement.
This agreement is for $2,500 in funding during the 2017 for economic and community development services. I believe that we have individuals from the Elizabeth Layton Center. It looks like Leslie is here, so come on up and tell us about our partnership.
Great. Thanks, Mayor Carolyn.
Yes.
Commissioners, thank you for having me today. Elizabeth Layton Center is very honored to provide behavioral health services for our community. And as I mentioned in the study session earlier this month, we believe the mental health need for Ottawa residents is great at this time. We've seen between 2015 and 2016 an increase in crisis contacts to the degree of about 43% over that 1 year period from 15 to 16. Also, we recognize that Ottawa residents themselves have reported through a Franklin County Quality of Life survey that mental health and substance use issues are key priorities for them to address as well. So we're honored to do that. We want to be there for the public. Our request in the amount of $2,500 for the City of Ottawa is to be carefully purposed by us in two directions. One is toward the provision of mental health first aid training in our community, and this is an evidence-based national best practice course. It covers a variety of areas, but there is a special section on suicide response and prevention. We feel that's critical because this is a key problem issue, unfortunately, in our area. Kansas has about a 15% higher rate than the nation at large in suicide, and so we're happy to provide this class as one opportunity. It's very much like medical first aid. It can train any person how to be a first responder, so to speak, before professional help can arrive. So we'd like to be able to provide that through City of Ottawa funding. We would spend about half of the $2,500 toward that purpose, providing a course designated in actually later this month in June. Also, the other half of the funding request is related to ongoing continuing education needs of our providers at the Elizabeth Layton Center. Last month, we were able to bring in a quality speaker to provide the topic of ethical service delivery in a community mental health center setting. And so our staff certainly appreciate that. It's part of their requirement of ongoing CEUs to maintain licensure to provide services. Also, our staff mentioned that training and development is one of the second most important things to maintaining their morale in the workplace. And so these are the two areas we would love to ask for your help in providing the $2,500 for 2017 for us to offer those services to our community. I'd be happy to address any questions you might have.
Any questions for Ms. Bjork? If not, I will entertain a motion, if there is one.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I move that we approve the funding agreement with Elizabeth Layton Center for 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion among commissioners? Okay, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Next, that moves us on to item 16 on the agenda.
Proclamation for 100th anniversary of city management in Kansas.
This proclamation recognizes the 100th anniversary of the city manager form of government in Kansas. City Manager Richard U. Neinstedt will accept this proclamation, and the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the year 2017 is the 100th anniversary of city management in Kansas, and whereas on February 17, 1917, Kansas Governor Arthur Capper signed the bill authorizing adoption of the city manager form of government by Kansas cities. And whereas on March 9, 1917, electors in Wichita and El Dorado voted to adopt the city manager form and respectfully installed their first city managers on June 18th and July 1st, 1917. And whereas today the city and county manager plan has been adopted by voters in 73 Kansas cities and 2 counties and serves 24% of the state's municipal population. And whereas, in addition to the city manager plan, cities in Kansas have an additional 97 cities and 30 counties where professional administrators serving over 67% of the state's municipal population. And whereas the Kansas Association of City and County Management is the professional association representing more than 192 local government administrators who serve Kansas cities and counties and who promote strengthening the quality of local government through professional management. And whereas the School of Public Affairs and Administration at the University of Kansas and the Hugo Wall School of Public Affairs at Wichita State University and the Master of Public Administration program at Kansas State University prepare graduate students to work as professional city managers, city administrators, county managers, and county administrators. Therefore, we, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, do hereby proclaim June 18, 2017 as the 100th anniversary of city management in Kansas Day in the City of Ottawa, Kansas, as evidence of our admiration for professional city managers, city administrators, county managers, county administrators, and their expression and to do their very best and have continued success. Signed this 21st day of June 2017 by the mayor. Mr. Neinstedt, come on up. I never have gotten to call you up to just get a proclamation. This is exciting. Let's get our pic. Here's how it works. I give it to you, then we take a picture. You're going to have to smile.
Mr. Neinstedt was my father.
Shake my hand.
So where do I look?
Yeah, you need to look over here.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oops.
Yep, thank
Got a
you.
smile?
Well, if not, we'll retake it.
Get a half hour?
You get a big minute because you come up next. So take as much time as you'd like. You're the next guy on the agenda, too.
Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate you doing this. I really appreciate that you didn't say that it was celebrating my 100th anniversary.
Close to it.
It was a typo. It was a typo.
Thank you, thank you.
But you knew that first manager, right?
Yeah, Commissioner Crowley, you'll find out that they are a jovial group. I appreciate you doing this. A little bit of history here. Governor Capper actually was from down the road from us. He grew up in Garnett, and that's where his home is. So, and you might have also heard of Capper's Weeklies, which my grandmother and my mother read, and I read for many, many years. I was only about that tall. It's an important history. It was an important step in helping cities have good management. But I think the most important thing that you ought to know about about the city manager profession is that we work for you and we work for the citizens of the community. And it's been my great honor to spend 37 years of that. I've looked at other levels of government to go to, but I never felt that there was any other level of government that was as effective or as close to the government as what local government is. And it really is the last bastion of democracy. And part of our important responsibility as elected leaders and as appointed leaders is to protect that democracy. And I would tell you, I think that's even more important today than what it's been at any other point in my 37 years. So thank you very much for this. I appreciate this. Welcome, Commissioner Crowley.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. I appreciate your family and your work family being here, even if you are off the clock. We appreciate that. So thank you very much for the support that you're showing Commissioner Crowley in this new endeavor. And he will need it, and that is an important part of serving the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
As our city manager makes his way back to his seat, it's time for report by city manager.
So I have two things. One of them is to remind you that the joint meeting is today, and it will be at the county annex. And the other one is that I've asked Mrs. Lee, Community Development Director, to spend some time talking to you about how we're doing roofing permits. It gives us an opportunity to speak to our citizens, and it gives us an opportunity to help you when you get questions about it also.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As you all know, on May 31st, we had a hailstorm. It wasn't the most significant hailstorm that we've had, but it's the most significant one lately. And it certainly changes the manner of work that our department is doing currently. And so I pulled a couple of the materials that Jim Sherman, our building official, has put together and either has online or has sent out to kind of just give you a little bit of an overview. First, we require contractors to be licensed to do roof work. Now, some of the contractors are already licensed. They were already here. They could be a general contractor or a specialty contractor as a roofing contractor. Those folks already had their license, so this part's not for them particularly. But we thought it might be helpful for folks to understand what it takes to get a license here. They have to demonstrate a minimum of 5 years' experience in the trade of general roofing, or hold a Class A, B, or C Ottawa license, or hold a similar license with Johnson County contractor licensing. The qualified individual for the company has to produce a valid and current driver's license. That's so we can match their face with the paperwork and have knowledge of who they would be on the job. They also have to provide general liability insurance written by an insurance company licensed and admitted with the state of Kansas. The city will be listed as a certificate holder, and the amount is a minimum of $500,000. They have to produce evidence that the roofing company also has active workers' compensation, as required by law. If they're not required to have it, there's a limited group of those that they have to produce the other certificate. They also, and many folks found this to be something they weren't aware of, there's a state of Kansas roofing certificate that they also have to hold. Some of the folks that have traveled into the state weren't aware of that, so they do have to have that for 2017. And then there's some things about how they make their payment for the licensing. We prefer that they submit that all together. As you can imagine, between the permits and the licenses, there's an abundance of paperwork coming in, and that's not counting the typical work that summer produces, which is always our highest time for issuing permits. A lot of folks are not doing that. They're sending in their insurance paperwork, then someone drops by with their driver's license, and someone else fills out an application and faxes it in. It just makes it harder to keep together. For example, last week we had about 10 licenses that were pending, and we had a couple others that came in Friday afternoon at 4:45. We could not issue them. We just simply could not, because they didn't have all the paperwork all at once. If we have all of that, then we can get things together. And so we encourage folks to submit all of the paperwork so that we can do the required work on our end, so we're prepared when they're ready to come in for their fee. Some folks are spending over 1 or 2 weeks to get licensed, which just means more paperwork. So we're encouraging as many as possible to complete all of their packet, bring it in, or email it in, or fax it in, so that we can take care of that all at once. Then, once they have the license, now we have a permit. Now, this is true for homeowners, too. If homeowners are wanting to do their own work, they need to apply for a building permit. There are several ways that they can secure this permit. The easiest way is to email the application, which is available online, with either a credit card or say that they're going to bring in their payment. We can accept faxes, although faxes aren't always reliable. We'll hear from someone that they think they sent a fax. They really need to call us first to make sure that we have received it. There could be a wait at the counter. We've also encountered that more recently, 15, 20 minutes when you're waiting to get a permit. So if you want to send that in so we're ready, you can always call and be sure that we're ready before you take the time to come in. If there's, on the inspection part was part of why Richard asked me to talk today, is because now we're getting to the point where a number of people have got their license, now they've got their permit, and now they're ready to start their work. For the primary inspection is the underlayment, and this is a very critical piece of the roofing system. People don't always give it the credit that they should and think that the shingle is the single most important thing. The underlayment and what's going there with your shields and for the ice and how we deal with the water and all of that is very important. So we ask that you call in. We are currently doing AM and PM inspections. There's a phone line that you can call, and it is, well, let me find that number really quick. I didn't find it. It's on the things that we sent out. That you call in for an AM. If you call in by 8 a.m. and say you want a morning inspection, that's fine, and we'll come by and check it out. For the underlayment, we can do a will call, meaning you are ready. So you call in and say, I'm going to be ready in the morning with a will call. And then you call and say, I'm ready. I need the inspector to run by, and they'll do that. But we don't want that will call, phone call happening until they are indeed ready. For example, yesterday I heard Kurt had to go by a place 3 times. Well, with 50 inspections he was trying to run yesterday, that's simply not going to work. And so while folks think, well, I'm almost ready, I'll be ready in the next hour, so if I call, it's not going to work. We really do need people to call and say, I'm going to be ready in the morning, call and say, I'm going to be ready in the afternoon, and then call back with the will call. Okay, they have to say it's a will call inspection, meaning that they'll notify us, and then he'll do his best to be there within 15 minutes. So we need their cooperation for that. The thing that we're starting to hear about now is evening and weekends. And just as all of you and all of the rest of us have evening and weekend plans, we don't want to do that more than necessary. However, we all acknowledge that there could be a time when there wasn't rain forecast for tomorrow and I've ripped off part of my roof and I'm going to need to do something unusual, or I've been delayed by rain for 4 days and now I'm ready to go to the next step. Then they need to be in contact with us. And again, this one, we really need, if there's something unusual going on, for that call to be made and talk to Jim Sherman, our chief building official. Right now, what he's doing is on Friday, we're doing extended hours on Friday, so that if somebody's wanting to shingle over the weekend, we would advise that they get that roof removed and have it ready for us to see underlayment sometime Friday evening, so that we can let them do the shingles then on Saturday. We have already run a Saturday inspection. We're trying not to do that a whole lot because it calls back for it's a minimum callback in our system for 2 hours for someone to come do that. There will be times when we'll need to do that, and we acknowledge that. But we also want to tell people some of the roof work that's going on is not urgent. If you don't have a hole in your roof, if you don't have water coming in, and most of this damage does not result in that, it's not necessarily urgent. We want to keep moving, but we need to recognize that they had weekend plans or vacation plans too. So we do have some Saturdays we cannot do an inspection, and those are June 17th, July 1, and July 8th. But we'll do our best to work on those Friday nights to get people as far ready as we can. And if there's something else that comes up, then we just need as much notice as possible. On those weekend things, really calling by Wednesday or Thursday is essential. It just is important for us to have a heads up that that's your plan. If you've already ordered your shingles, and you've already got the felt and everything's delivered on site by Wednesday or Thursday, clearly you're planning to work. Give us the benefit of letting us know that as well. We're going to do our very best to keep people moving, but we do have to schedule those after hours and weekend things around what somebody may have planned, or have them work with you to see when you really truly will be ready, because if Mayor Kaler's ready at noon and Commissioner Jorgensen's going to be ready at 5, we're maybe going to have to work out something with you guys about how we're going to do that, because we don't want 2 callback-ins. And so we're going to do our best not to run up the cost to the taxpayer for our personnel costs while managing. This is a $50 permit. Okay, it doesn't begin to cover that kind of extra expense. So we will do what we can for folks, but we do ask for some patience with that as well. I think that's all I really need to tell you. Is there questions? We can definitely answer any further questions from folks at 229-3620 for licensing, a permit. A lot of this information is online at the city's page, ottawaks.gov, under the Community Development tab. If you go to the homeowner section or the document section, you're going to find our paperwork necessary to get a license or a permit.
Mrs.
Go ahead.
Pardon me. Go ahead.
I just have a quick question, Mrs. Lee. On the Johnson County contractor license, is there something unique about Johnson County's that?
Yeah.
the
Johnson County
template?
offers most of the education
Is that what that is?
everybody goes
Okay.
to get educated, and it has the biggest group of contractors in the state, at least in this part of the state.
Okay.
So it's pretty common practice in this region that if they've already licensed them, then we know that they've met these same
Good.
conditions.
Okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Lee.
Go ahead.
Mrs. Lee, do you have a rough estimate about how many roofs that you think rough may need to be
We
replaced?
thought initially we were probably 300 to 500. Our guess now is 500 to 800. More damage was documented after the first kind of quick through that we had somebody do. We know of several contractors who have more than 120 permits each that are or contracts for roofs, and there's probably about 25 specialty roofing contractor licenses issued now. And that's not counting the general contractors who are also doing some of this work.
And so if we were to take that upper end number of 800, how many individuals do you have that can do inspections?
2.
Okay. So
And
that's-
others of us will help out as necessary, but to do the very best job, we have 2.
Okay. So that's what we really want to highlight, is that there's no possible way that 2 people can inspect everything at the exact moment
If there's
that the
150
inspection is
today,
dropped.
that's right. We are
Yes.
not going to make that work very well.
So-
But we're going to do our very best.
I would stress what you had asked too, of kindness and
Yeah.
a wee bit of patience.
Patience, and it never hurts to call earlier. Just because I said you have till 8 o'clock in that morning to get that inspection, you can call 2 days ahead. We're good with that. Sometimes that's helpful because sometimes some of those folks actually do get ahead too. Unfortunately, what we hear of more often than not is the late call. And then the request. We, in fact, had a call last week with somebody who didn't even have their permit yet, was calling for a weekend inspection. And so, it was a late Friday afternoon kind of a thing. So that's difficult to accommodate. And again, we're going to try to do our best, but we do ask for folks to, as they're making their weekend plans, to be thinking ahead to make sure we're aware of their plans. So.
Okay. Mrs. Lee, I just got, a comment or a couple questions for you. I had a call from a constituent, and I asked Richard to address this today, and I thank you for bringing that before the commission. The homeowner does not need to have the licensing and so forth. They can do the job themselves. And as a longtime do-it-yourselfer, I've put on several roofs through the years, and I plan to do so in the future. And I think that the 800 rows is what we know to date.
Right.
My inspector said you don't have any damage that an insurance company would cover now, but go through the freeze-thaw
Right.
this winter, and the damage may actually show up later on. So.
That's right.
How long does it take to actually get a building permit for a roof?
Well, if it doesn't necessarily take that long if we've got somebody here to do it, but if
Okay.
they're out on inspections, I know that primarily what's taking us to the length right now is the licensing piece.
Okay,
And
but if a homeowner wanted to get a roofing permit, it would
it's
probably...
We prefer a day or two, but they can sometimes walk in and wait. They just may be waiting a while, because
Okay.
if we're in the middle of other things. We're also, again, there's only 2 people who can do the paperwork for that, and right now, we've been 3 weeks, going on 3 weeks with only one of them in the office.
Okay.
So we're working it, but it's definitely stressing us, all of us, because we're also all answering the phone. So there's only 2 people who do inspections, there's only 2 people who issue licenses and permits, but there's only 7 of us in the department. And we're also doing, like this morning, we have a very long inspection for Sunflower School.
Sure.
So we have 2 people out there all morning, which crimps this other work that
Okay.
we're trying to do.
And luckily, these hailstorms like this only come along, well, I guess it's been 14
10
years
years, yeah.
since the
Yeah.
last one, so
Yeah.
I guess if we can just ask the citizens to bear with us.
Yeah, it's just mostly a matter of understanding each other's perspectives, and we just ask that, we're happy to listen to what created the urgency on the other part. We just ask for some sense of understanding about what it's like to try and do all of this as fast as we can as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions for Mrs. Lee? Thank you for the briefing.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Mr. Neinstead.
Is it, Commissioners?
Okay. Next, we move on to a part in our agenda, which is report by city manager, or city commissioners, and I'm going to start here with Commissioner Graves.
I don't have anything today.
Commissioner Skidmore.
Just a point about Arthur Capper, one more thing you might want to know is that he was actually the first Kansas-born governor, I believe. Is that right? Okay,
right.
so if you're on Jeopardy, you know the answer to that question.
That's true. I'm
That's right.
proud of you, Commissioners.
How about
It's a
that?
nice piece of
I did some
history.
history work on it this morning. Also, I just want to say kudos to Mike for your Parks Department. You're doing a great job on our parks. I was in Kansas City this weekend with my father-in-law for Father's Day and went to a park, and was really disappointed actually in Kansas City. They're not taking care of their parks nearly as nicely as we are here, so kudos to you and your staff. Good job. Parks look great.
Commissioner, did I see where you and your son tore up a parking lot
Well,
with
that was
heavy
just for the
equipment?
picture.
Cat key.
Yeah, well, they left the keys in. I had to do something with it, so that was. But we had a good time Father's Day, I'll say that.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
I'd just like to welcome our newest commissioner to the desk here, and I look forward to working with you in the coming months.
Thank you.
All right, that moves us on to report by the mayor. I would also like to echo what Commissioner Jorgensen said. Welcome. It is not an easy job, but it's worthwhile serving your community, and I know that you have been in this community. Were you born here?
Was not, but
Okay.
we
Might as
moved
well
here
have been, right?
38
Yeah.
years of the 40,
Exactly.
so it's close enough.
So in this community, I don't want to put words in your mouth, has been good to you, and so
Certainly.
the period of service, we're excited to have you, and excited to have you get back to our community, so welcome.
Thank you.
We're super glad to have you here. And then I have some exciting news, and some individuals have heard me talk about this before, but occasionally when I talk to individuals about our police department, I ask them what is something as an adult that they remember about their police department or our police department, and it generally comes up that they remember going to talk to local police officers about getting Chiefs trading cards and Royals trading cards. And thanks to Chief Butler, who made a contact with the Royals Department, trading cards are back. And so it's pretty exciting that all it takes is for you to go up and visit with one of your local Ottawa Police Department officers, and they have trading cards, and they come in packs that look like this. They're bundled in plastic, but they're cool little trading cards. And so talk to your police officers. It's a great way for you to have a moment just to visit with your police officers and get to know them. Chief Butler, did you want to discuss something?
I have something with me today.
Excellent. So there's no excuse for everyone to not leave here without a Chief, or not a Chiefs, but a Royals trading card. And we really hope the Chiefs follow suit too. But something exciting and certainly a good thing, a good PR move for our police department, and an opportunity for you to get to know our police officers in a different light. So I encourage our young ones, and even our citizens who are young at heart, to speak with our police officers and get their Royals trading card. We have announcements, which today, as City Manager Neinstead had indicated, we have our luncheon with the city, county, and school board at the county annex. We have a special call study session on Monday, which it's essentially just rolling back the start time, which we will be starting at 3:30, which we will be addressing budgets. So that's 3:30 on the 26th. It is here at City Hall. Time has just changed. The location has not. And then we do have a special call study session for budget talks again on the 3rd of July. The 4th of July, we are closed for Independence Day, and we have our regular commission meeting at 7 p.m. on the 5th of July. Is there anything else to be brought for the commission today? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Eric, move we adjourn.
I'll move we adjourn.
Would there is there a second?
I want to stick
If
around.
not, we'll be here forever. It's fine.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. We adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Good job.